Welcome to the Book Hackers Podcast. I'm Cindy Minear.
I'm Tammie Chrin, and we are the co-founders of the Book Hackers Club. If you're listening to this, you probably are a self-publisher who is ready to grow your business, and that's exactly why we're here. What is a book hacker, you ask? A book hacker is a self-publisher who is growing their business by creating books that provide value for their target audience while building a sustainable business.
We'll cover marketing, branding, sales, and everything in between. If you're ready to fast-track the growth of your self-publishing business, you've come to the right place. Our goal is simple: to help you think and act like an entrepreneur. Every Thursday, we'll share tips and resources designed to help you master all aspects of your self-publishing business while having fun along the way.
Ready? Let's start.
Welcome to the Book Hacker Show. What is a book hacker? A book hacker is a self-publisher who is growing their business by creating books that provide value for their target audience while building a sustainable business. I'm Tammie Chrin.
And I'm Cindy Minear, your host of the Book Hacker Show. And today we're discussing how to legally use quotes in your books. Let's get started.
Using quotes from others in books is a common practice, but it is important to use them legally and responsibly. Authors and publishers need to be aware of copyright laws and other restrictions that may apply when using quotes in their work. To begin, Cindy, what should we be aware of regarding the legal side of using quotes in our work?
Tammie, the most significant aspect to keep in mind is copyright law. Copyright law is a set of laws that protect original works of authorship, including literary, musical, and artistic works. This protection gives authors exclusive rights to their works, such as the right to reproduce, distribute, and display the work publicly. If you're using a quote from a copyrighted work, such as a book or article, it is imperative to obtain permission from the copyright owner to avoid any legal issue related to the copyright infringement.
That's right, Cindy, and it is important to understand that copyright protection is automatic in the United States, meaning that as soon as work is created and fixed in a tangible form, it is protected by the copyright law. And the copyright owner has exclusive rights to use the work unless they choose to license or assign those rights to someone else. So when you're using quotes in your work, it is important to either obtain permission from the copyright owner or ensure that your use qualifies as fair use under copyright law.
That's right, Tammie. Navigating copyright law can be complex, but by understanding its principles and being informed, you can use quotes in your work without infringing on the rights of others. There are two ways to legally use quotes in your book. The first is through the fair use doctrine, and the second is by obtaining permission from the copyright holder. Can you explain the fair use doctrine to our listeners, Tammie?
Sure. The fair use doctrine is a principle in the U.S. copyright law that allows for a limited use of copyrighted material without permission from the copyright owner. It is designed to balance the interests of copyright owners with the public right to use and benefit from creative works. So when can the fair use doctrine be applied to using quotes in the published work, Cindy?
Fair use can be applied in certain circumstances, such as for purposes of criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. The four factors that determine whether a particular use of a copyright work is considered fair use are the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount of the portion used, and the effect of the use on the potential market for the original work.
Wow, that's a lot to consider, Cindy. So how do you determine if your use of a quote qualifies for fair use?
Unfortunately, there is no clear-cut answer, as the fair use determination can be subjective and based on the unique circumstances of each case. However, it's important to consider all four factors and weigh them against each other when determining whether your use of a quote is fair use.
And what if you're still unsure if your use of a quote is considered fair use?
In such cases, it's always best to err on the side of caution and obtain permission for the copyright owner. If you do use a quote under the fair use doctrine and are challenged by the copyright owner, you may need to defend your use in court. Can you tell our listeners how to obtain permission to use a quote in their book, Tammie?
It depends on the type of work you are quoting from and the owner of the copyright. If the work is in the public domain, meaning it is no longer under copyright protection, you can use the quote without permission. However, if the work is still under copyright protection, you need to obtain permission from the copyright owner. In some cases, the publisher or author may have the rights, while in others, the rights may belong to the estate of the author and to the author's entity. It's essential to research who holds the rights and how to contact them.
And it's important to note that some publishers or authors may have strict guidelines for using quotes, such as limiting the amount of material used or requiring specific attribution. Therefore, it's important to communicate with the rights holder and understand their requirements before using the quote.
That's a great point, Cindy. And in some instances, obtaining permission can be as simple as sending an email to the rights holder, asking for their permission to use the quote. In other cases, it may require a formal request, such as a written letter or even a contract.
Tammie, what are some best practices for providing proper attribution and using quotes responsibly?
Cindy, proper citation is critical. It gives credit to the original author and provides context for the quote. It also helps avoid plagiarism charges and protects your credibility as an author. Proper attributions typically include the author's name and the source of the quote, such as the title of the book or article and the publication date.
That's an excellent point, Tammie. Additionally, using quotation marks to indicate that the words being quoted are not your own is a clear and effective way to differentiate between your own words and those borrowed from another source.
And accuracy is key. Verify the details of the source, such as the author's name and publication date, to ensure they are correct. Furthermore, it is essential to limit the amount of quoted material in your work to avoid potential legal issues related to copyright infringement.
Tammie, I think it's important to note that while we have covered some of the basics of obtaining permission and the fair use doctrine, this is still a complex topic, and there may be situations that are not clear-cut. So if you're ever in doubt about the legality of using quotes in your work, it's always best to consult with a copyright attorney or don't use the quotes at all.
Absolutely, Cindy. And to recap, it is important to understand copyright law when using quotes in your book. Unless your usage falls under the fair use doctrine, you will need to obtain a permission from the copyright holder to use the quote in your book. Legally using quotes in your books can be very complex. If you have any questions about whether or not you are using them correctly, it is best to consult a copyright attorney. In our next episode, we'll talk about how to select the right keywords so your book gets found and bought. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us.
If you like what we're sharing on the Book Hackers Show, join our Book Hackers Club, where we dive deeper into helping you build a strong and sustainable self-publishing business. Go to bookhackers.us, that's bookhackers.us, and join us every Thursday if you're ready to turn your self-publishing into a sustainable business. We would be very grateful if you would like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Book Hackers Show. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. Join Cindy and Tammie each week for tips to help grow your self-publishing business. Don't forget to like and follow us on social media, as well as share with others who could benefit from our advice. Our website is bookhackers.us.